but the QPMO is further than just a paper pushing and reports. We're looking at decisions made based on real-time data, meaning that we automate the data intake and we make all the risks and all the decisions visible and transparent between the managers that are part of the Quality PMO. Ensure that we have authority and accountability for decision making. So it integrates the governance and data together for the purpose of quality excellence.
Today on the episode, we have Harri Emari. Harri is a pioneer in digital PMOs, the mind behind the Quality PMO methodology, and a PMI-CP ambassador right here in Silicon Valley. From his work with BIM heroes to his deep dives into AI and data at Stanford, he's on a mission to stop the paper pushing and start enabling high-stakes confident decision. Let's be honest. In the construction world, most PMOs are treated like expensive secretaries, spending all week chasing status updates just to produce reports that nobody actually reads. But what if PMO was actually the brain of the project? Today's guest is here to show us how. Welcome to PMP with Prachi, the podcast dedicated to helping you master your project management and transition from manager to a project leader. Today on the episode, we have Harri Emari. Harri is a pioneer in digital PMOs, the mind behind the Quality PMO methodology, and a PMI-CP ambassador right here in Silicon Valley. From his work with BIM heroes to his deep dives into AI and data at Stanford, he's on a mission to stop the paper pushing and start enabling high-stakes confident decision. With that, welcome Harri to the show.
Thank you, Harshi. I appreciate the introduction, and I'm very happy to be on your podcast.
Honored to have you, Harri. So why don't we start with your introduction and tell us what led you to focus on digital PMOs for construction and facilities, and of course, the origin of Quality PMO methodology.
Sure. So I started as a civil engineer, having an engineering mindset to solve problems using our assumptions and formulas and how to come up with trial and error to good solutions. And then I studied master's degree for construction project management. That's when I learned how to follow rules and regulations and how to pass those requirements and expectations to people within my team. And as I grew as a construction project manager and a civil engineer designer, I learned those two are completely different, meaning that having an engineering mindset is completely different than having a management mindset. And as I was doing my PhD in facility management, I realized I need to integrate the two into one system. So I came with my engineering, managing, and reinventing integration, which is my last name, Imari, to help people understand system thinking. And as I was doing a lot of construction project management and business development for AEC industry, I learned that most of the problems that we have in the construction contracts come from the owner side, not knowing how to do capital programs or capital projects. And if they had done the proper governance for those projects and use the right delivery, they would be successful in delivering the quality that they're expecting on their jobs. So as I got my PMP and I did my doctorate in business administration for strategic management, I learned that PMOs can really help by giving us a governance and framework where we perform work and project based on foresights over hindsights. And that's where QPMO was born.
Okay, that's very cool. Yes, I actually Googled and I saw that Imari is, if you can share the abbreviation and what
So
it means.
Imari is engineering, managing, and reinventing integration. So I'm trying to reinvent the integration between our people in the field and people in the office, people in the business world and people in the technical world. So it's all about integration. And the latest work that I did at Stanford was to integrate human and artificial intelligence as we were trying to improve the human and organization performance for our organization. Yes.
Okay, that's fascinating. We will be talking about AI and human in this episode. But before that, you mentioned that quality PMO is something that's a mind shift from doing things to integrating of the data itself. But for a lot of people in the field, a PMO is still just a room full of people chasing status updates. To help us understand the shift, how do you actually distinguish that traditional setup from true digital PMO, especially in that messy construction environment?
That's a very good point that you made. So I know there's a lot of discussion about modern PMOs and moving away from the traditional PMO. And actually, after this podcast, we have an event at PMI Silicon Valley, and we're going to be discussing modern PMOs. But the QPMO is further than just a paper pushing and reports. We're looking at decisions made based on real-time data, meaning that we automate the data intake and we make all the risks and all the decisions visible and transparent between the managers that are part of the quality PMO. And the reason we called it Quality PMO is we come from different backgrounds and different thinking mindsets. And we have different decision bodies. Even though I'm a civil engineer with project management and construction management knowledge, I might be given a role in my team to perform certain activities that is not the entire construction management. I might be only responsible for cost control, for example, or scheduling, or just do portions of the quality management. So whatever that role is, that's where QPMO shines to give the responsibilities and roles their proper colors of thinking, and also ensure that we have authority and accountability for decision making. So it integrates the governance and data together for the purpose of quality excellence. Now, defining quality itself is a difficult task. A lot of people have different definitions of what do they mean by quality. But we believe quality is the requirements we set in the beginning, and it comes from the sponsors and the key stakeholders, and it includes meeting the requirements as well as exceeding the expectation. So we go beyond that. Now, the digital PMO, of course, is the same as modern PMO. It's just that it emphasizes the use of tools such as dashboards and taking data into forms and making it real data, real time, and automated, meaning we don't wait a month to get those reports after the fact. We make decisions on daily basis as needed. We pull the information from our digital dashboards.
Okay, that's a powerful distinction. Moving from a rear view mirror to a real time GPS. But here is a paradox, Harry. We have more software, more integration, and more dashboards than ever. Yet many executives still feel that they are flying blindly. So if the digital PMO is the solution, why are so many PMOs, even those in the latest tools, still struggle to deliver that actual decision value to the C-suite.
I love it. So just to summarize, a lot of people, and I know that the new PMI certification after acquiring the PMO Alliance emphasizes this, that when you join a PMO could be at different maturity level. So at a lot of points, it's not the PMO's fault, it's the organizational management or organizational culture. So you need to identify at what stage have you entered and what is the maturity level of that PMO. So we as consultants for the quality PMO, we don't say we're coming to create the PMO for you. If you don't have it, of course, we'll create it. But even if you have it, you will benefit from having our insights because we focus on the value delivery. So it's not just reporting that the PMO will be assigned to do. It would be bringing insights. And those insights are actually based on the lessons learned and the organizational assets that already collected where they need to do risk-based management of their priorities and collect those data in one source of truth for making decisions. So a lot of the PMOs struggle because they have fragmented data that is not collected properly or on time or by the right people for the right decision. And we just need to know from quality perspective that quality is something continuous improvement. Nobody can get it right the first time. Even many years after doing something, the long-standing teams can prove the lean outcome of quality effort, meaning that the more people stay together and learn together through different challenges and problems, the more they would understand their responsibilities and accountability. And that's when people try to learn how to work in a team. So as you know, the Tuckman ladder as a PMI and PMP certified person, you have the team formed by many different factors or different people, bringing different kind of players into the team. So that's the forming stage, right? But they get into this storming stage because nobody understands their responsibilities correctly, or it's not clear who's accountable for what. And as problems come up, they keep pointing fingers or blaming each other. So that's where the storming happens because people try to play the blame game, right? But after they get to their own kind of lanes and get into their own roles, that's when accountability can shape. And I think most of the PMOs suffer because they don't go through this forming, storming, and norming stages to get to performing. And before they even get to that, they either replace people or they leave the organization. And we just need to teach people that in a learning organization, that quality improvement is an ongoing, continuous effort. We don't leave teams. We don't become emotional. We try to learn from our mistakes and improve our processes. So we don't blame people. We blame processes. And that's the key to the QPMO, is to create process improvement as part of the QPMO effort.
And yes, quality is important, and that's why it's in the middle of the iron triangle. So, what specific problem did you design for quality PMO to solve, and how does that change the role of the quality in construction, specifically in construction projects?
Construction industry has a broad definition, and many people consider themselves a part of the construction industry, or no, I'm not in the construction industry. I'm in the architect engineering industry, whatever they want to call it. As long as it's a built environment, we call it construction. And that's where a lot of people look at projects only in the production phase of the construction, meaning the installation and building the product. But QPMO looks at it as a life cycle performance, meaning that the governance should start as early as possible by identifying the strategy, the key objectives, understanding the requirements, the decision makers for those requirements. So quality becomes a management signal rather than an afterthought, because a lot of times people think of these issues like safety and quality when there's a problem or issue. The quality PMO tries to give the system thinking instead of the process thinking, that you need just to work in your own lane and you just need to worry about your own thing, to a level of collaboration between managers, meaning that I will bring the issue up for you to be aware of it, but I'm not going to influence the decision because you're the expert. I'm expert in my field, you're expert in your field. I'm responsible for my role and you're responsible for yours. So we don't get into each other's lane. We stay process thinkers. However, we help and support each other in a system thinking way. And the QPMO leader or the director would be the person to give green light and red light to people as they would see priorities from the leadership and the senior management team. And nobody will be blamed for anything because the QPMO made those decisions based on clear guidance and quality requirements from its stakeholders. And that's why you see the shift from PM Box 6 to PM Box 7 to include a lot of business decisions by the project manager. Before PM Box 6, project managers would get involved in projects only after a charter was signed. However, after PM Box 6, they started saying, no, project managers need to be part of the business case. They need to understand that sometimes you need to close the project before it ends, or change the project, or you need to be agile. So these discussions actually came after realizing that project managers just can't be focused on their own processes. They need to be aware of the business decisions and the impact they make and other environments, so they can make a holistic and system thinking kind of approach to problems. So that's what Quality PMO has been doing since 2016 when we developed it. And we use digital tools to ensure that the proper information is flown through those workflows and proper decisions are made and documented correctly.
If you can give us a quick example of how making quality a core management has prevented rework and failures in your experience, in your projects.
Nice. Okay, good. I have many examples. I can probably speak about this thing for hours, going over different stories and lessons learned, that because that's part of our activity as quality managers, is to collect lessons learned and to present them as good kind of guides and benchmarks for future projects. And this is what I learned at Stanford, that some people hated the word lessons learned. And when I went there as a quality manager, I'm like, why is that? I mean, lessons learned is a good thing. I mean, that gives you perspective, that prepares you for the outcomes and what to prevent from problems and be proactive. And then later I realized that because of the safety culture over there and missing the quality culture that kind of we established after Quality PMO was promoted there, is they would do lessons learned only after an incident. And people hated that because safety people would come, like officers, like, tell me what happened, give me your lessons, tell me who made the mistake. But if we become a learning organization where we uh, make quality culture the key, which encompasses compliance and safety, then people would see us as quality project management officers within the organization, collecting lessons learned, presenting it to teams, and helping them to prevent and rework or mistakes or even incidents. So one of the interesting kind of activities that I did very, very early on when we were applying the QPMO was they came to me and said, we have a problem with our generators during downtime, and we're not sure exactly why our maintenance people keep missing this. And they thought it was because of like gas or like maintenance for filling the gas on the generators and stuff like that. I said it can't be that simple. It needs to be a system problem. So we did collect a lot of data, and we realized that it was an interface breakdown between the different departments, from procurement to facility management to operation and maintenance. And this is a long time ago. So I'm sure after that we fixed it, and now they're doing great. But at the time, we needed some governance intervention. So we were sitting in the director's office. We were not part of any of these departments, and we had to look at it from a third party, unbiased, independent eye to say, where in this life cycle delivery there are issues and problems that we need to identify so we can improve for the future. And interestingly, after we did the dashboard, the QPMO dashboard, and collected the data from different departments and different incidents, we realized that each of those departments made at least 3 to 5 different problem mistakes, and they could have improved it and prevented the problems from happening. But more importantly, we realized that a lot of those problems were causing other problems in other departments, meaning that if I wanted to go to details, for example, on some of this stuff, the generators were not designed for the right voltage. And that you cause understacking on the generators. But that was not just the problem. I mean, that would be very simple to solve. The problem was they didn't have the list of generators kind of with the O&M team to know, okay, which models we should procure. And the worst part was the procurement happened very late. So the suppliers would not have the right generators for the right time. So they would only supply us whatever they had. So that caused part of the problem. I'm just making it very simple just to show one problem from each department that kind of snowballed into bigger problems. So the governance intervention that we came as a quality team to say, we're not taking any sides, we're not blaming any department. This is something that we need to work together, because if the O&M team had given us the right reports and the right data, maybe we could have discovered this much earlier. And as soon as we did that, there were a lot of improvements on the system. But I would say that we prevented that from happening at least the time that I was there for the last 4 years. Yes.
I'm glad to hear that. And if quality PMO ties quality into governance, how do you view the whole system? Like you spoke about the systems thinking and sustainability. What does that mean, particularly for PMO design and long-term asset performance?
Yes. So again, wholesome and holistic thinking is more than just I would say, short-term goal. It needs to be a long-term and life cycle view on the value that you bring. So the optimization, of course, is not going to happen in one project or one task or one performance. Optimization for the system becomes an issue over long term and long time, because you're working with the same people. Um, And that's what the construction industry lacks, is that we focus very on projects, and clients and owners usually ask us to compete against each other for lower cost, lower price. So they would not be working with the same team over and over to capture those lessons learned and improve the outcome of their projects over time. So for sustainability, our goal is not to limit the competitiveness, but to create centers of excellence within organizations and have community of practices like the ones that we have in PMI and CII and CMAA, lean construction, and have them share their best practices. However, this doesn't come from process thinkers or contract workers that just come for a year or two or one project here and there. It comes from the client and the owner side. And this needs to be spelled out in contracts and specification and flown down to people in the organizations and contracts and construction industry as a whole.
Okay, and you rightly said that construction industry is more like competing against each other instead of, taking care of the team, projects, and all. So it's one thing to design a sustainable system on paper, but it's another thing to account for humans operating it. So
Yes,
how does
definitely.
that perspective, viewing performance through a human lens, practically alter a PMO's daily decision making process?
So, human performance improvement has been discussed for many, many years. People understand psychological safety, for example, human behavior, how to make sure that they have clear roles and expectation when it comes to improving their performance. However, what we worked at the Department of Energy when we were rewriting the handbook on human and organization performance, we applied some of this Imari system thinking where we said people in the field have a different culture and different language and different mindset than people in the office, and vice versa. How can we ensure the system and organization can help and support the people both in the field and in the office? So clear roles, making sure they understand their responsibilities and training them to be successful in their activities, and giving them a safe environment where they can have a just culture. We call it a just culture, meaning giving people the right resources, the right support, pairing and shadowing with people that know how to do the work, gives them the psychological safety to come to you early with escalation to say, there's a problem. I can sense there's going to be some issue or quality or safety concern that they have. So the performance of the organization and our operation excellence is closely tied to our human performance based on their habits and their behavior and their relationships. So that's what the system thinking part of the QPMO plays a big role, that we're not only looking at performance from a project performance level or organization performance level, we're looking at our people as human that you need to lead as leaders and have a leader to leader relationship between your team, rather than a leader and a follower, or leader and just people that go as quiet quitters. That's what we call them. When they get emotionally damaged, they don't want to get involved, they don't want to get engaged. So hopefully using the QPMO, we can both improve the human performance as well as the organization performance. But mainly it's focused on the organization performance to capture the data and have transparency on decision making. And applying the wellness quality management, of course, is going to help with sustainability and system thinking for the human integration.
And now let's bring that data and AI into the system. From the studies in AI and ML, and BI at Stanford, how can AI realistically support the digital PMO today?
Well, going back to the integration discussion and making sure that our decisions are well made based on the situation and the context of the situation, right? So I was experimenting with AI since 2021 before everybody knew about ChatGPT and using AI agents, because I was like training my own AI to think like me with 4 to 6 different hats. So when I was creating the PMOs for organizations, like since 2016, and I was already like in the 6 years, 7 years in this business, I realized that AI could help us with pattern recognition and early warnings and helping do scenario analysis and predict things with foresight and instead of just reporting it. So these are the areas where we use AI, but again, AI doesn't know how to recognize these things unless you, as a data scientist, help bring that 0, 1 into context and tell them how to model your thoughts or your decision making. Now it's very advanced. It's much more advanced than the time that I used it, but we implemented AI in Department of Energy and Stanford very, very early on to help us parse our lessons learned, improve our reporting and decision making. And it helped us a lot in scenario analysis from different thinking hats. So the key PMO is four kind of aspect of every problem. But and it's business operation, project performance, quality and innovation, and the subject matter expertise. But they all need to be sustainably aligned with each other on the axis of system thinking and sustainability with empathetic leadership and strategic thinking. So that axis keeps us straight, whether we're thinking about business side, whether we're thinking about project side. So it gives you a 360-degree perspective, and AI could help if you give it enough information to make the right decision. So before even applying AI to any organization, we say bring the BI, the business intelligence first, and all the data from the different departments into one kind of ecosystem or digital stack, and then ask AI to make those predictions for you and do those scenario analysis. Otherwise, it would not be able to recognize any patterns.
Hmm. And where do you think organizations commonly go wrong when they try to digitize PMO or adopting AI tools?
Yes, very good question. So actually, I've done a lot of digital transformation in my career, and it was much easier when I was doing it overseas because they would say, "Oh, he's from the U.S. and he knows all this stuff and he understands it and he knows it better than us." Actually, it was much more difficult when I was doing it in Michigan when I was there, and now in Silicon Valley it's impossible, right? Everybody thinks that they know digital and digitization, and they're all IT experts, right? But it's not the tool, it's not the software or the app that has the biggest problem. It's the processes, meaning that if we don't know the processes, what is the value stream? What are the decision points? What are we losing time and handover and hand back of the different batches of uh, whether it's tasks or material, whatever it is, right? If we don't have a good process management and process thinking to bring the system together, the tools can't do anything. So again, going back to people that make the decisions to put the information or don't put the information, when to put the information, what to say, what to hide, all those things become part of the problem of digitization, where if you give, they say, garbage in, garbage out, right? If you give garbage in, you get garbage out. And the most significant weakness or the mistake that I see in organization when it comes to doing digital transformation is weak change management, meaning that managers don't understand that change is not comfortable for people, even if you are claiming to be a learner and you love to change and you keep learning and you keep improving. If they hit hard on something that you love or you care or you're comfortable or you know by heart, and now they tell you unlearn what you know and learn something new, that's change management. And people are human. They're not machines to say, do it the way I say, otherwise you're not going to be like continuing this work, or we're going to replace you or whatever. So they try to sabotage anywhere they can if they don't feel comfortable. So change management is a human issue that needs to be taken care of. So interestingly, as part of my research to do human and AI integration, I was taking a lot of human psychology courses at Stanford. So for the 4 years that I was there, I was always taking AI and psychology courses to understand human behavior and see why people resist something, or how can I help them improve or change behavior. So those are the things that I don't think engineers understand or know or practice. A lot of managers don't become directors or good leaders because they don't understand how to do the human side. But overall, I think having someone with a good perspective and system thinking of all the directions and trying to balance and optimize it in a effective way with the priorities set by the senior management and the sponsors, they should be able to digitize their PMOs much easier. And I've done this many times, and even in organization that failed the first time, I was able to help them the second time, because I always tell them, if you started wrong, there's nothing you can do about it. You're gonna go the wrong direction. But if you started right and you do early assessment of those issues, then there's a way to survive and fix problems and issues. Yes.
Absolutely. Can't agree more. So, here to wrap things up, I would like to conclude by asking you, for organizations looking to develop their PMO capabilities, particularly those hiring a PMO developer or strategic PMO lead, what should they look for and what value will quality PMO deliver?
So, I mean, of course, we always talk about best practices and sharing those with each other. I think organizations first need to create their own quality communities or quality centers, or whatever you want to call them. We call them in PMI, we call them centers of excellence. We need to teach people to collaborate on best practices. And usually organizations do it very nicely within their own firm, but when sharing information with others, they get into this competitive kind of mode of not sharing best practices or things like that. So our kind of approach has been to promote volunteering, helping people to adopt the new kind of methodologies based on sharing experiences and lessons learned. And we know construction has been a very slow adopter of the technology. But I'm happy to report that the PMI CP that we have is a new certification for construction professionals, and it's based on the best practices from CII, CMAA, AGC, and lean construction, into bringing a holistic perspective of solving the most important problems in construction, from risk management to contract management to scope and change management, interface management. So, and the interesting thing is it was developed with Oracle. So they have a lot of digital transformation and digital tools introduced and discussed in the course. So we usually recommend that organizations try to go after these new innovative methodologies and approaches, whether it's from PMI or any other organization, depending on their need and their stage of their project or the nature of their organization. Because I think PMICP works helps the owner side and the facility management side much more than somebody in installation or a supplier or subcontractor at the end of the chain, right? However, knowing this stuff early on helps that person, even at the end of the chain, to provide the right information to the owner so they can do a better design early on or better management and governance early on. So again, I think collaboration with PMI and other association would be the best thing for them to both learn the newest and greatest methodologies and approaches and find the right people in those communities for their projects and hire the right people, because we have good amount of volunteers and managers that are involved with our chapters, and they could be very suitable for their projects and their organizations as new recruits. Yes.
Okay, thanks for sharing that, Harry. And that brings us to the end of this episode. What an incredible session in shifting from the rear view mirror PMO to a real time GPS and human touch to the AI space. So I wanted to say thank you so much, Harry, for sharing the
Thank
blueprint
you.
behind Quality PMO and showing us that whether we are talking about AI, Stanford level data analytics, or human performance on a job site, it all comes back to the integrity of the system we built. Listeners, if you are ready to stop chasing updates and start enabling decisions, make sure to check out the links in the show notes. You can also connect with Harry on LinkedIn or dive deeper into his work with BIM Heroes and the Silicon Valley chapter. As always, if you found this episode valuable, please hit the subscribe button and share this with one project leader who needs to hear it. Let me know in the comments what was your takeaway from the episode. Thank you again for joining us, Harry. It was an honor to have you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.